I was expecting to be like hit with overwhelming emotion, but I think I had long enough to process it that I was ready, and it was bittersweet for sure, but I mostly was feeling just like a sense of accomplishment.
Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash, Season 9. So of course, we are now under the 2-month mark in regards to what would you say, time until the last ever episode of The Flash, that of course being the Season 9 finale, which will serve as the series finale airing. Now, though we know a decent amount about, what is coming our way, sort of, and most of us are looking forward to seeing this final storyline that's coming our way and how that goes, as just well as, how the show is wrapped up as a whole. But something that a lot of people have been waiting on and sort of wondering if it would actually happen is whether there would be some, interview stuff with Grant Gustin, who of course plays Barry Allen, aka The Flash, leading up to either the finale or just the final episodes as a whole. And over the past week, Grant did a bunch of press stuff whilst he was in New York. Don't know if he went to New York specifically for that, or it was like a bit of a getaway sort of thing, and hey, I'll do some stuff while I'm here, I'm not too sure. But none of it was overly in depth, and I guess that's because there's still a bunch of episodes to go, and you wouldn't really talk about finale stuff until you get within a week or two of the finale. So maybe that's why it wasn't too in depth. It was just a lot of your standard TV interviews. But there was one interview which was advertised to go in depth, which was the one he did with TV Line, which part of it was released. I think there are 2 parts, so this is part 1. Don't know when part 2 would come out, maybe after this week's episode or maybe closer to the finale, I'm not too sure, but we got part 1 so we can talk about that. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on what's discussed here, and if you have any thoughts going forward into the episodes based off it, let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, everything like that, want to show your support, drop a like on the video, it takes 2 seconds. But yeah, let's go over this first part of the Grant Gustin interview with TV Line. There is a full video of the interview, which does go more in depth, as you'd expect, because it's the video, which I'll link in the description down below for those that want to see it. But it's also weird, it doesn't work on some browsers, which is really weird. Anyway, let's go. So Grant Gustin had a lot to say and to share during his visit to TV Line's New York office, where he reflected on The Flash's 9-season run and teased the final few episodes. In part 1 of our video series with Gustin, The Flash's frontman starts off by shedding light on the Instagram video he posted of him saying goodbye to his speedster suit. Was he as emotional about the moment as it sounded? Then about 2 minutes in, we get to talking about whether it was easier to be the Flash or do, knowing that the Arrowverse isn't as bustling as it once was. During its 4 and 5 shows heyday, I hadn't thought about it, he answers, but maybe in some ways it did make it a little easier, knowing that the party isn't going to keep going on without us. It's like, we're shutting this place down. Now, of course, we've known, going into this final season, The Flash, that, we have Superman Lois, but that, officially disconnected itself, at least being from the same Earth as the Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, and stuff like that. I think it was in their finale for season 2 of Superman and Lois. So that's disconnected now. So there is no Arrowverse show, as you would officially say it, or at least another show on Earth Prime that sort of continues this continuity going forward after the Flash. So the Flash knew that going into its final season. And there's always been this debate about whether it's going to fully wrap up the Arrowverse, or it might touch upon some areas of the Arrowverse and just focus on wrapping up the Flash. I always been especially because it's only got 13 episodes, it needs to focus on just wrapping up the Flash. Of course, we had that Supergirl stuff this week, which really wasn't necessary in the long run, and I think if that was a sign of how they would have handled other things, then maybe it's good they're not touching upon it. Maybe that's a sign that they're not, it's probably good they're not touching on Legends and maybe some other aspects as well. But it was always a big question heading into this final season, especially the final episodes, whether it would be that official end of the Arrowverse or not. But then again, we do have the Oliver Queen episode coming up in, I guess, 2 episodes from when this video is coming out. So, yeah, maybe they might for some reason try and wrap up Arrow again. That what I just said was completely pointless. But I know, we'll wait and see. But it doesn't feel or it doesn't appear that they're going to focus on wrapping up the entire Arrowverse when the Flash ends. It's just the Flash ending for the majority of it, for the most part. After then rattling off a few of his favourite guest stars of all time, Gustin acknowledges that there was a weird stretch of seasons where Barry and his wife spent a lot of time apart, but for season 9, showrunner Eric Wallace avowed that #West Allen would be working together as a series neared its end. Along those lines, Gustin shares how he was pointedly told that a bedroom was being built for West Allen, so we knew going in. Now, the funny thing is that this has sort of not really worked that well. A lot of people have criticised it, where it feels like Iris is just may as well be Barry's belt, if that makes sense, just going along with the ride. Nothing really going on there outside of this week's episode, funnily enough. But the thing is that they tried to give Iris storylines, and both Iris fans just, because I think a lot of Iris fans just like the West Allen relationship. So when they tried to give Iris storylines by herself, they were like, well, where's Barry? Why are they spending time together? I was just like, well, hold on. Did you want a storyline with Iris or not? And in the comics, obviously, they're separated like a lot of the time. So when you do a show and you sort of do the opposite of what the comic does, it can sort of like not really work that well. So they tried to do Iris solo storylines or with like, you know, other groups like we saw in season 6, which I thought were good for Iris. And they're probably the best they've ever done with the character. But yeah, they sort of turned their back on that because I guess people didn't want that. And it was probably the people that were crying for it in the first place. So what can you do, I guess? They can't win in that situation. Around the 6-minute mark, Gustin talks about some of the announced returns, including original cast member Rick Cosnett, who quote-unquote blew me away, he effused. Or effuse? Whatever that says. He got to do some really interesting stuff, unlike anything he's done on our show before. Now, of course, we all know, Grant Gustin didn't say it there, but he's playing Cobalt Blue. And I'm very, very intrigued. I think a lot of us are intrigued going into it to see how Rick Cosnett does Cobalt Blue, because we've seen like weird dream Eddie, where like Eddie is sort of like mean, if that makes sense. But obviously it's like in Barry's head or someone like the Speed Force pretending to be Eddie or whatever it might be. So I'm very interested to see what it is like when Rick Cosnett like fully plays a character that's like this for multiple episodes. Now, of course, we don't know if it's going to be Eddie Thawne or it's going to be someone like Malcolm Thawne. We don't know exactly how that's going to play out. That's for us to wait and find out. Not too long until this storyline starts. But I can't wait to see what Rick Cosnett does there, because this is a character I've been waiting to see for a while. And Rick was really good in season 1 throughout the entire thing. So I think he'd be able to nail this. So I'm excited to see what he does. The video Q&A wraps with Gustin offering an overview of the season's last few episodes, saying, I really appreciated how there was a conscious effort to bookend some important stuff from season 1, adding, Eric Wallace did a really good job of tying in some of our most classic storylines from that season. With closing out that thought, he reveals what specific guest star / material from the series finale kind of caught me off guard and got him emotional during that final hour. Now, in regards to what he's saying there, in regards to the guest star / material from the series finale, in the actual video, he says it's like John Wesley Shipp and Michelle Harrison coming in. And I think he specifically was mentioning John Wesley Shipp. And he said some of his favorite moments during on the show were when John Wesley Shipp was playing Henry Allen. So I guess specifically seasons 1 and 2. And those scenes with Henry Allen, he says those were his like sort of like favorite things.
We've had John Wesley Shipp and Michelle Harrison back a lot over the years, who, you know, played Barry's parents in season 1 and then, you know, went on to play different characters on the show like Jay Garrick and Joan Garrick, and Michelle played the Speed Force. And we had them back. And I guess that's kind of what I'm speaking of when I say that we really tied in stuff from season 1 in a really beautiful way. And they had them back in a way that kind of caught me off guard, I guess. And I was emotional reading, and then was emotional on the day when we shot it too. And all my stuff with John, especially when he's playing any version of Henry Allen, I think is the stuff that kind of touches my heart more than anything else that we've done on the show.
So some eyes might well up watching the series finale.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And there is something in this final season which we know about if you've seen the set photos, but I won't spoil it again. Just the Cobalt Blue stuff everyone knows about, like that's out there. But there was something else minor, which I don't know how many people saw the set photos, and I don't think I like heavily focused on it in a video, at least title wise. So even if you didn't watch the video, you wouldn't know it, if that makes sense. So I know what he's talking about, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out in the storyline, and how big of a thing it is, or if it's just like a minor thing, or if just specifically maybe for that episode it's a big thing. I'm interested to see what that whole scenario is and how it plays out, and maybe how it connects to the larger storyline. But I know what Grant's talking about, and it should be an emotional thing for Barry. That's the thing. It should be an emotional thing for Barry. But Grant does highlight something which I think Eric Wallace had talked about in an interview as well, maybe towards the beginning of the season, maybe after episode 1 or after episode 2 or something, about tying in things from season 1. So Grant talks about how Eric Wallace apparently did a really good job of tying some of those classic storylines from season 1 and bookending them. And Eric Wallace has pretty much said, if you want a full-on view of like, or full-on setup, if you want to call it, for the final storyline, like the best way he could think of it, it's to go watch season 1, episode 17 through to the finale. I think it was 17, because I think it was the Trickster episode, which I'm pretty sure is episode 17. So you watch episode 17 through to the finale, and that completes you, like that will set you up for this final storyline on the show. Not too sure exactly what's going to be referenced, but the main thing that happens in episode 17, if you want some setup for maybe the Cobalt Blue thing, is that episode 17 is the episode where Eddie finds out that Barry is the Flash. So that might be the setup there. But I'm probably going to go rewatch episode 17 through to the finale, on the weekend or something like that, like 3 or 4 hours of my time. In setup for this, maybe when we go on that break before episode 9, I'll probably do that just to refresh my memory. So be a pretty good watch, especially to set up the final storyline. Definitely be worth it. And I'd suggest that other people do it as well if you have the time. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I think it's mainly just going to be the Eddie stuff. But then again, you got to also remember that you have like the Reverse Flash stuff in there. We know Matt Letcher's coming back as well, so that's always an important thing to remember as well. In regards to certain events that play out in that last batch of episodes in season 1. It's not just Eddie Thawne stuff, there's also just Reverse Flash stuff in general, but also the Matt Letcher version of Reverse Flash as well. So yeah, and even then, like, we also know that Timeless Wells is coming back as well, so there might even be something in regards to that also, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited to see how this end of the season goes. I know it hasn't been that great, the start of this season, to put it in light terms. But I've always said that, and I've been saying it for a while, ever since we sort of got a hint as to what was happening at the end of this season, that I think the end's going to be good, and it's sort of going to be like a flip on what Arrow was. Where Arrow started really well and then didn't really end well with its final season. So hopefully I'm right. Bit of a mirror image thing going on, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all the stuff we went over in this video. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, and everything like that, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Goodbye.